These brooders are amazing. I couldn't be happier with this company.
We absolutely love these cages.
One at a time, okay, guys?
Hey everybody, welcome to another Coturnix Corner Live. Glad you guys could join us. We've got a really interesting live set up for you guys today. Joining me tonight will be Jennifer Bryant of Bryant's Roost, and she is going to be giving you the results of her incubator, her side-by-side incubator test that she's been working on. So that's going to be really interesting. As always, I do have a few announcements that I need to go through before we get started. Shout out to our sponsors, Southwest Game Birds and Hatching Time. Both these companies do a lot for the channel, and I really appreciate them. They are responsible basically for most of the giveaways that we do here on the channel. Southwest Game Birds always donates hatching eggs to give away. Hatching Time gives us a $50 gift certificate for one lucky winner every week. So I really appreciate that. I just want to plug our Sunday morning live stream, which is called Morning Musings, Coffee and Coil with Terry. It's really neat, guys. 9 o'clock in the morning if you guys are up. It's Eastern Standard Time. Grab a cup of coffee and join us. We had a good time this past Sunday. A lot of great questions and whatnot in the chat room, and we pretty much discuss everything. It's not just all quail. It's, whatever topics come up, we get into that. Today we are going to be announcing our Coturnix Kids Project winner. What we have going on over on the Coturnix Corner community website is every month we select a winner of the Coturnix Kids Project to receive a bunch of prizes. Let me bring them up real quick. I think that's it. We got some really great prizes. I mean, the kids are going to get an incubator. They're going to get feed from Homestead Harvest. They're going to get a 2-unit Hatching Time cage. They're going to get a Tractor Supply gift certificate. Sunny Place Homestead gives us some waters, feeders, and quail egg scissors. Leaving Otter Farm donates some Hatching Time eggs, and then they're getting a tumbler from Coturnix Corner for Coturnix Kids tumbler. But yeah, they're really. I appreciate all the sponsors for that. We finally got sponsors that are dedicated for the entire year, so we don't have to worry about finding replacement sponsors as we go on. So I guess we're gonna real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and announce the winner of that project, and then we'll go ahead and bring in our guest and get right into the incubator comparison. So the winner of this month's, which was actually last month's August, Coturnix Kids Project, was Parker Fletcher. Parker Fletcher is 11 years old. Parker gave us a little write-up. He says, I like to educate my community about having quail. I've been raising Coturnix for a while, and I really think they're cool birds. I take care of them a lot by feeding them, watering them, and handling them. I also collect their eggs. I like that you can use quail for meat and eggs, and I help cook for my family. I do workshops with my mom to help teach other kids and people about raising Coturnix. Our homestead also had a farm crawl where people talked to us about having quail. I'm showing my quail at our fair next month too, and I'm entering a project about my quail. I like getting to know people and helping them get started with Coturnix. And I like that. You see Parker up there in the upper left. He's carrying his bucket, probably a feed around, taking care of the birds, collecting hatching eggs, showing some of the feather patterns. And then on the bottom I really like is Parker and his barbecue grill. looks like he's cooking up some quail there. So that's really cool. So Parker, congratulations. We've already talked with your mom about getting your prizes sent out to you. They will probably start going out this week. The last prize that you are going to get will be your hatching eggs, because we want to make sure that you get, all your other stuff, so you're ready for the hatching eggs. So Parker, again, congratulations. Thanks for your write-up. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing some of the photos of you with your prizes and your hatch and whatnot. So, okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guest. And if you guys would, we are going to jump into the chat room after Jennifer gives us her presentation for questions. If you guys would type the letter Q next to your question, that'll help me locate your questions a little bit easier. So, Jennifer, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us.
Well, thank you for having me back again.
Absolutely, anytime. Okay, Jennifer, you know the routine. I'll go ahead and bring up your presentation, and you just kind of tell me when to go to the next image, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, first I wanted to start off by telling you the reasons why I did this experiment. And one was, people asked me a lot of questions about different incubators, and it's kind of hard to help somebody if you don't have any hands-on experience with the incubators. So this kind of gave me the opportunity to get hands-on experience to be able to answer questions more effectively. The second reason was to give you guys all of the information you need when you go shopping for the incubators. Not necessarily telling you the one that did the best and was the favorite, but to know what to expect when you went shopping, when you got home and you unboxed it, what to expect with that particular incubator. And the third thing is I'm kind of a stickler for cleanliness, so that was one of the things that I observed on all of these incubators, was how easily you could clean them. This first one up here is the styrofoam one. I absolutely hated it. I couldn't clean it. There is absolutely zero way to clean styrofoam. Zero way to clean styrofoam. So that was the first reason that I disliked it. The second reason is there's no turner in it. Yes, you can technically hand turn them, but I have too much going on in here in order to hand turn quail eggs, or any eggs for that matter. So I tried to do it as the incubator was without trying to interfere or upgrade it on my own. I tried to take the incubator as it would come out of the box and use it. So I did not hand turn these eggs. I was not happy with it at all. Could not get it up to temperature. It did have cold spots. I want to say it never actually got over 90 degrees. It did hold humidity, and I say that because I didn't add any water, because I'm in Tennessee and the humidity is horrible here, so we don't have to add water to our incubators in Tennessee. So the hatch rate was not good. The chicks had curl toes. I would not recommend this incubator for a starter because of lots of reasons, but mostly because you're starting with an unclean environment. That would be my first reason for turning this one down. Terry, if you want to go to the next one. Okay, so this is the most popular incubator that I see all over Facebook for chickens, quail, for just about every species. So I actually took 3 of these into the experiment. Um, 2 of them were as is. One had some upgrades that the owner of it had purchased off of Etsy, and I'm going to talk about those in just a second. But the 2 that were as is that you took out of the box, one did not hold temperature very well, one did. So and then the third one held temperature okay also. So there's some inconsistency just in the programming from the manufacturer. I did not play With it, I just simply took it out of the box, set it, started it, and let it do its thing. So the temperature is inconsistent straight out of the box. As far as using it, it's relatively easy. You just kind of set it up on the counter, you plug it in, you turn it on, and it does its thing. There's a peg that comes up through the middle that you set that turner mechanism. It's just a piece of plastic that you set down on there. And then when you're ready for lockdown to stop them from turning, you just simply take that out. All of the electronics are up in the lid. So the base is just plastic. It was very easy to clean. You just rinse out and wipe out the bottom. Um, there is no customer service on this particular model, and I'm going to go back to the styrofoam one on that one too. I couldn't find any customer service on that one either. So if you had any questions, you were down to just asking for help on Facebook. You couldn't contact anybody. If you'll go to the next slide. Now see that red band around the base? So that is a extra piece that you can get off of Etsy. And what it does is it lifts the lid. The reason why I liked that, if you are going to use one of these, I would get this extra piece. So when the chicks hatched and you took the lid off, um, the chicks just ran right off. And one of them actually got stuck in the shelf unit that I had all these incubators on. And so I had to move all the incubators to get the darn thing out of one of the holes of the shelf unit, which just irritates me because I need them to stay where they're supposed to be. So that red band is about 2 inches tall, and it kind of prevented them from just running right out of the incubator. I mean, if it was your only incubator and you had it in a confined space and this was your starter incubator and you didn't know any different, then chicks running crazy all across your table may not bother you. But when you're dealing with the quantity that I deal with, this was a huge inconvenience to have to stop and move everything to find the lost chick that fell down in that shelf unit. The other insert here is a quail egg insert that she got off of Etsy. So you could put more quail eggs into the incubator itself. Whereas the insert that comes with it straight out of the box is meant for chicken eggs, and I think it holds 22 chicken eggs. So it would hold a lot more quail eggs with this extra insert that you could buy. I think a lot of people are 3D printing them now, and you can probably get them in lots of different places. All right, so the next one. Okay, this thing is a piece of junk. Do not buy it. Do not buy it at a yard sale. Just laugh at it and keep on trucking. So let's start with the bottom. The heat unit is in the bottom, underneath where the chicks would hatch. So the only way to clean it would be to take out either 6 or 8 screws, remove the wiring, and then wipe it out. Now, if you were going to do that every 20 days, 22 days or so, I mean, that's just a crazy way to build an incubator. The turner it was very hard to attach the turner inside of it. And I don't know, the whole thing just irritated me from the beginning. I had 2 of these in the experiment from 2 different people. This particular one came from a friend down the road, and he didn't like it because the humidity kept building in it. So you'll see right up there at the top that he actually just drilled a hole right in the middle there's no vents in this machine at all. So he drilled a hole right down through the middle to allow it to vent some. Um, I did get the directions with it. He did still have the book that came with it. And I did fight with the electronics on it, trying to reset the alarms. This particular one, I did set the alarms like it told me to, but every time I opened the door, the thing was screaming at me. So from the get-go, I might have hated this machine more than I hated the styrofoam machine. The second one that I had that was like this came in the styrofoam. So the idea would be to leave it in the styrofoam so it would hold temperature better. But the thing never came up to temperature, and just actually nothing hatched out of the second one. There's no customer service. Don't have any idea how to get a hold of the manufacturer, because I actually, in my notes, called it the MIC, the Made in China, because that's what you see in that picture is literally the only writing on the entire incubator. So I don't know where they came from, um, but don't buy them. Don't buy them at a yard sale. Pay somebody to take it away from your house is my recommendation on this one. If you want to go to the next one. Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of stuff about this one in the chicken world. Um, uh, it was easy to set up. Everything just slipped into place very easily. The electronics are in the top that you can see. When the turners came out, the eggs sat down in the bottom so the chicks couldn't run off the side like they do on the 360. So there was more containment there. The base is all plastic, very easy to clean. Could not find any customer service on this manufacturer either to contact if there was a problem. Um, it did hold temperature really well. The humidity was consistent just because I don't add any water. I did not have a good hatch rate. However, I think with a little finesse, I should have given this one a little bit more time, maybe run a second hatch through there. I think I think this could be a good incubator, in all honesty, um, because I really couldn't find anything wrong with it. So I mean, if it held temperature, it held humidity, so I'm really not sure why the hatch rate wasn't good. And at the time I thought, Jennifer, you need to run a second batch through there just to try it again, and I didn't have time. So I think this one would be a good one for the price point that it is. If you want to go to the next one. Okay, this thing looks a whole lot bigger than it is in this picture. I want to say it's about 30 inches wide. It's a Brincia. Again, the heat is all up in the top. The base is all plastic, very, very easy to clean. The first thing that I noticed with it is it takes up a lot of tabletop space for the amount of eggs that goes in it, and it's kind of bulky to move around. So it's about the same width as two Nature Rights side by side. So it took up a whole shelf by itself. Um, you do have to pick up that entire lid with the heat unit, just like the 360 and the Matacoupix. You just got to pick up the whole thing in order to access the eggs. There's no hinges on any of these incubators so far. You just literally have to manhandle the lids on them. Um, it held temperature really well, very easy to clean. It held humidity very well. I had a very good hatch rate out of it. I did email customer service with a bogus complaint, and they got back to me, I want to say, within an hour. So they were really easy to work with and very helpful should I have a problem with it. So I think for the price point that this would be a good incubator, as long as you're willing to give up the tabletop space and you had the space for it. It would be a good incubator to start with. All right, the next one. Okay, the gold standard, or the old standard maybe, is the 1502. I personally have two of these, so I do like them. Well, I have a love-hate relationship with them. Let's go there. So first of all, they hold a large quantity of eggs. I think in 1,200 quail eggs or so is what you can put in them. Those trays that you put the quail eggs on, you can double stack them, and you can put four per shelf, two deep. Um, they hold temperature. They're rock stars as far as that is concerned. They're just machines. They just keep trucking. The reason why I hesitate, if you're going to hatch in the same machine that you're incubating in, I would hesitate on this one only because I can't reach the back of it. Um, I mean, I am short, but I can't even come probably within 6 inches of reaching the back of it. So if a chick falls out the back of the hatching tray, which goes in the bottom of it, I use a paper towel holder, the cardboard in the paper towel. I use that to kind of sweep them towards me because there's nothing else that I can find handy in order to kind of sweep the chicks towards you. If you have to work on it, it's a heavy machine. It's very bulky, um, and you have to turn it around to get to the mechanisms or to clean the fan. Um, and it has screws on the back of it. It is not a hinged back, so you do have to fully take it apart in order to clean it. Um, So what I would recommend the 1502 if you were running a large quantity of eggs, and but I don't know that I would recommend hatching in it, if that makes sense. I don't hatch in mine because they're very difficult to clean. I do run a dry hatch in mine, so I don't mess with the water, but it's really not hard. In the wintertime, I do mess with the water. It's not hard to manage. The water it has that tray up in the top. You just put some water in it, and it does what it needs to do. Um, I've never had any trouble with my 1502s, and so that's probably why I have two of them. So if you go to the next slide. Okay, so this is something I see a lot on Facebook Marketplace, and I always have to grin when I see them on there because I have three of them. These are the incubators that I started with, and in all honesty, I know people hate them and say they're junk, but I kind of like them. I still use them all the time. And what I use them for is for hatching. So I'll incubate in the 1502 and then I will hatch in these. So what you can't really see because the lid is closed is the whole bottom is just a plastic tub. And you just put the eggs in the bottom of it. And after they hatch, you just take it outside and hose it out or put it in the sink and wash it, whatever. I mean, it's the easiest thing to clean. Now, where people mess up is they put it on their countertop looking just like in this picture. But when you get them out of the box, they're in packing styrofoam. So what you want to do is leave them in that styrofoam as an insulator to hold the temperature. Um, but once you move those eggs into these to hatch, you can control the humidity and the temperature, I mean, down to the tenth of a point. I mean, I just really like them for hatching. And so in the experiment, I ran two trays through the 1502. One I hatched in the bottom of the 1502 dry, and one I moved to this machine, which is what I would typically do anyway, and hatched in that. And I got a better hatch rate moving them over here with a little bit of extra humidity. All right, if you go to the next one.
Jennifer, what's the brand name on number 8 on this one?
I have no idea. No idea. I think one time I found it on Amazon under Sunoco, but they were gifted to me like years and years ago, so I don't know. There's no name on them. Okay, the hatching time. Um, I mean, it's really hard to say anything negative about the hatching time because it's kind of like set it and forget it as far as temperature and humidity is concerned. So what I did was to try to be fair with the other incubators that I did not add water to. I did drop the humidity to 40%, which is about where I do it anyway, for incubating. Um, the machine itself has a hinged door on the front and the back, and it's not as deep as the 1502. So yes, you can turn it around to access the back to clean it really well. You almost don't have to because you can reach everything from just the front. You can reach, there's nothing on it that you can't reach from just standing in front of it. It doesn't have the capacity as the 1502. So unless, you're running a lot of eggs like I do, um, this may be more than sufficient for what you're doing. The customer service with Hatch and Time is just rock star. You can email them or call them. They will get right back to you. You, um, there's just really nothing that I can say negative about it. So what I did do, in order to kind of test two theories, was I did set two trays in there, and one of them I did plug in for the turner, and one of them I didn't. Turning definitely makes a difference in the hatch rate. So that I was able to decide on that. All right, if you want to go to the next one. All right, so this was the final results for the hatch rates. I did use eggs from the same cages to take that variable out of um, different breeder birds. I did pull all the eggs from the same breeder birds. Um, there was on average 3.9 eggs that either were unfertilized or they quit so early that you couldn't see anything. So those were not counted into the hatch rate. So this first 360 was the one that would never come up to temperature. And those chicks actually didn't survive. They all had curl toes and they didn't hatch well. The other two 360s, they did. Um, they did come up to temperature and they did okay, but I just wasn't impressed with the hatch rates on them. And they've raised the price on those now, so I think I would actually, for that price point, I would probably just try something else. The Matted Cupix, while I didn't have a great hatch rate on it, I do think with a little bit more looking at it and a little bit more effort, I think it would be a good machine. Those made in China ones with the heater down in the bottom, stay away from any machine that the heater is down in the bottom, because when the chick hatches and it makes that mess, you don't want to have to be getting down in the elements in order to clean it. You need to look at these incubators as you're gonna clean them. So that while I don't recommend those and I don't know where they came from, there's a lot of machines out there, so make sure the heating elements are up in the lid, and the bases are really easy to clean. The styrofoam one never did go above 90 degrees, and so the hatch rate reflects that, and they did hatch late because they were cooler. I let all of these go to 21 days just to see what I could get out of them. The Brincia, the Brincia was a nice machine. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It just takes up a lot of tabletop space is the only thing with it. Now the GQF, the dry and dry, that was where I put the tray in and then hatched it at the bottom. So no humidity the whole way through, and it was only 54%. But where it says dry and wet, that's where I moved it to that yellow tabletop and brought it up to about 70% humidity for the last 3 or 4 days. And you can see the hatch rate went up with humidity at the end. In the hatching time, the no turn versus the turn, almost a 20-point difference in turning. So definitely when people say you don't have to turn eggs, at this point I'm going to disagree with them. Between that one and the styrofoam one, which was no turn also, terrible hatch rates.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and jump into the chat room? We'll take some questions.
Sure.
I hope you guys can. I turned the fan off. Hopefully, the air conditioner is not too loud for you guys. That was pretty interesting. And I have to agree with you on the incubators that you had the best luck with. Okay. Fat Country says, hello from Tampa, Florida. What's a good digital hydrometer? What do you use?
I own a Govee. Do I use it? No, not really. It's more for just seeing fluctuations, I think. I mean, if you really wanted to know, then maybe a good meat thermometer from the Dollar Tree store you could stick in there.
I use, I've got a Govee. I was actually doing a test between a few different ones. I like the Therm Pros. I've always had really good luck with them, and they're always consistent. Okay, I'm not going to read all the comments. I'm just going to take questions. So, guys, if you have any more questions for Jennifer, go ahead and put them in the chat room now. Don't forget to type the letter Q by your question. Lindsay says, excited to see Jennifer's findings. Glad everyone weathered the storm. Yeah, our hurricane, we got lucky. It stayed offshore far enough to where it really didn't bother us. We got some wind and a lot of rain, but it wasn't that bad. Don says, hello from South Mississippi. Our incubator just quit working after our last hatch, so we're looking. Thanks. Oh, then we got a whole bunch of congratulations for Parker. Again, congratulations to Parker. I don't know why. Do these things fall out of your ears too?
Yeah, it fell out while I was talking. You see me put it back in?
I can't. I had a pair of those, the ones by Apple, the high dollar ones. Same thing. They kept falling out of my ears. So I went and got the cheap ones. Let's see here. Yeah, Maury says, love the earbuds.
Thank you, Maury.
Terry, can you mute your fan? Yeah, okay. Sorry, Rebecca. Is it better now with the fan off and just the air conditioner on, or is it still annoying? If somebody can let me know.
I can tell something's on, but it sounds fine.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm just wondering what it sounds like on the other end.
Yeah, sounds like a little soft whirring.
Right. Andy Rabbit says, that looks just like my Little Giant incubator. I've had great luck with mine. Is that what that first one was? Was a Little Giant? The styrofoam one?
It didn't have a name on it. It said Made in USA. So on my notes, I called it the MIU for Made in USA. So.
Right. Shelly wants to know, how long do I leave the heat on in my brooders?
For quail, this time of year, I would say 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, the heat in your brooders is really going to be determined on where you are, what time of year it is, if you're in the AC or if you're not in the AC. If I have them in my climate controlled barn office, then they have heat on them till they're about 2 weeks, and then I put them out in the barn, and I think the barn is like 90 something degrees today. I mean, yes, they have a heat plate out there, but I don't think they use it. But in wintertime, probably would leave it on until maybe 4 weeks or so.
Right. Mine are usually off the light by 2 weeks and in a grow out pen at 2.5 to 3 weeks. But it's hot here.
Yeah.
Lindsay says, it's nice that people come up with 3D printed accessories to help the incubators. I was going to say something about that. There's a guy on the Coturnix Corner community that makes the jumbo quail egg inserts for the hatching time cages, and he sent me enough for my entire incubator, and they're great. I mean, I can fit any size egg in there now.
Can you fit more eggs per row versus just setting them in there?
Yes. If I'm just setting them in there, yes, I can get more in, you know, because they're kind of diagonal. I think it's 13 eggs per row, and I think without the Turner insert, I think it's 11 or 12. Carrie Ricker says, "Yep, number 4 sucks. I had one, and our temp went way high." And mine melted and cooked the eggs. Wow. Jessica Yu says, "What's a reliable thermometer, hygrometer that you recommend?" What did you say you recommended, Jim?
I don't use one, so.
Oh, really?
No, I don't. But I mean, I have the hatching time and the GQFs. They hold temperature so well.
Right. These are the ones that I use. The Therm Pros. They work really well. Looks like my Govies off by about 2 degrees. I never liked the Govies. I just found too much variation between them, even after I calibrated them.
Well, like you have your stuff is really close. It's not in your house. It's very close to your house.
Yep.
Mine is all the way out in the barn. So that
Right.
Bluetooth, I don't have Wi-Fi out there. That Bluetooth ain't reaching to my house. I mean, none of
Right.
that stuff does anything for me.
Let's see. Leaving Out of Farm says, "I tried one of number 4. Awful, horrible, fried my eggs. Told me they were at 99 when they were really at 106. Wow."
Well, it was her incubator in my experiments.
No wonder she gave it to you.
Exactly.
Jessica Yu says, "Number 2 was always reading low by 2 degrees and humidity off by 5% for me." Rebecca says, "Question, did you add water at lockdown for any of them or dry hatch all the way through?"
Well, now why'd you go and ask me that? I
You
dry
don't
hatched
remember?
all the way through.
Oh, do you really?
I dry hatched all the way through.
What's your relative humidity on average?
Close to 40.
Is it?
Yeah, this time of year is close to 40. We've had a lot of rain this year.
Yeah.
But I wanted
us
to
too.
be, I wanted to be as consistent as I could possibly be across the board to give every
Right.
machine, the same opportunity.
Gotcha. See, not talking to me. Question, what was that one called again? Number 6? Do you remember?
The Brincia.
The Brinzy? Yep. That's what Jessica said, Brinzy. Bob Cole says, "I have the smaller Brinzia. Works fine, but the rails that hold the eggs could be better." I think that's a
Yeah.
common issue with quail rails. They always make them, they seem like they're too small. Either that or everybody's getting bigger eggs now,
So that's why I asked you about those inserts on the hatching time ones. So my eggs, I mean, they're bigger eggs, so I can just set them in the rails. I bought the quail rails from Hatching Time just to try them, and I can use them on the celadons because those are smaller eggs, but
Yep.
I couldn't even fit my jumbo eggs in them. So mine just sit down in there pretty well. The Brincia, that was actually the customer service email that I sent to them was about the quail rails. So luckily, Ashley, the friend of mine that let me borrow her Brincia, she had quail rails, but my eggs wouldn't fit down in them. And so I kind of had to kind of torque them down in there just a little bit to make them hold, Otherwise, they would have just kind of rolled around in the bottom, and they really wouldn't have gotten burned very much.
Right.
So I emailed Brincia and asked them about that, if they had quail rails for jumbo eggs. And they did email me back within about an hour, and they asked me which model that I had. So I emailed them back and told them which one it was, and then I didn't hear from them again. But I still give them credit because they still did respond, and I could have pursued it further. But
Sure.
I had the information I needed that they would respond and get back to me.
Right. I think those jumbo quail rails that I get, I'm trying to think of the guy I get them from. Hold on, I can tell you. But anyhow, he's a member over on the Coturnix Corner community. He 3D prints them, and they are large. They will hold your jumbo size eggs, but I think they're one less hole than what Hatching Time has in their quail rail inserts.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to send you my eggs, and you put them in that thing, and you tell me if they work better.
Okay, I'll do that. Rebecca says, I have 2 GQFs, 1500 series. I dry incubate in, and I hatch in the Hatching Time CT180. Cool. I have the HT350 dedicated hatcher. Holds 1,000 quail eggs. I love that thing. It's so nice. But it's so big. I'm used to using. I use the CT60 incubator, and then I got that HT350. That thing's 4 feet high.
I have 2 of the 180s.
Yeah, they're nice. What is the brand name of number 8?
I think somewhere along the line I saw it called Sunoco, Sunoco, but there's no name on it.
Okay. Rebecca says she had horrible luck with the number 8. Lindsay says it's called the Facebook Market Special.
Yes.
Hatching Time is the best. I would have to agree with that comment because I have had nothing but excellent hatches out of my Hatching Time machine.
Well, I would consider myself maybe not an expert incubator person, but definitely very proficient. And I've always had trouble with my duck eggs. And I have tried them in all the different ways that people say, cool them and mist them and kiss them and love on them and do all of these things to your duck eggs. And I've tried them in that yellow tabletop. I've put them in the GQF 1502s, and I mean, I was frustrated and about to the point of just giving up and just being happy with a 40-45% hatch rate on the ducks. Put them in the Hatching Time, 100% hatch rates.
Amazing. Their humidity setup it's brilliant. I mean, because a lot of the incubators, the way the humidity is run is, I'm talking about incubators, that have a pump or have the reservoirs that you fill up. It's hard to adjust it because it doesn't matter how much water you put in or how little water. It's the surface area of the water. But with the Hatching Time, with that what do they call it, a vaporizer setup, it only vaporizes the amount of water needed to bring your humidity to where you want it. Yeah, it does a good job. Wanda Lee says, I'm confused. Why run different humidity if doing a comparison? I didn't know you ran it.
No, I didn't. Everything was dry except the Hatching Time, which I lowered to 40%. And
Gotcha.
then the 1502, I dry hatched in the bottom one tray, and I did move it to the tabletop to raise the humidity for the other to see if there was a difference.
Not talking to me. Lindsay says something about the heater being in the base under the chicks is kind of scary anyway. Yeah, I thought so too.
To have to take screws out to clean it every time, I don't know what fool designed that thing.
Right. Tracy says, I really wish you'd have tested Terry's, as I will be making 2 this weekend, 1 to incubate and 1 to hatch. Well, I can tell you, once you get it tweaked and you find that sweet spot, they work great. I mean, I've got mine to where I get as good as hatches out of my DIY box as I do out of my hatching time incubator. So, but it took a little bit of time to get everything tweaked, and it's funny. It seems like the less I do to it, the better it works. If I put the eggs in there and forget about them, I get a great hatch rate. If I get, if I'm worried about humidity and all this nonsense, it doesn't do as well.
So I want to say this, that
Yep.
people in different areas, like Terry's more humid and we're humid, but like Arizona would be super dry. So it's not a comparison. I couldn't tell somebody in Arizona how to incubate because it's so dry there. I wouldn't, you would have to tweak it for your environment.
Right.
It's also really important to keep your incubators in a temperature controlled room. All of these were in my barn office, which has got an AC unit in it, and I kept it at 72 in there, and they were all on one shelf unit, so that was as close, they were all very close together to not have any variation in temperature that way. But you don't want to incubate. Some of these books and some of these people on Facebook, they say, you need to incubate at 50 or 55%, and that is just way too high. You're going to drown the chicks that way. So 35 to 45, I would say, would be max. And my humidity here was running 37 to 40. So I didn't need to add any water.
Yep.
And also, you need to go all the way back to the breeder's nutrition too, and if the eggs were shipped. So I've seen people feed their birds scratch only and wonder why their hatch rate is low, and that's because the hen didn't have enough nutrition to pass it on to the egg yolk for the chick to develop. And so incubating problems go all the way back to breeders, then to location, then to quality of your incubator, and then to your process. So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Exactly. JJ says, I have one of those made in China that you keep the styrofoam packing on it. It does okay if I babysit it every few hours. I need a new incubator, so I'm glad about this video. Cool. Thanks, JJ. Glad to have you in here. Rebecca says, I'd be interested in seeing the same experience without dry incubation / hatching.
Well, why don't you do that, Rebecca?
It's like I don't have enough to do already.
Exactly.
Jessica wants to know, how many quail eggs can you fit in the GQF?
I think about 1,200.
Oh, smokes. I almost bought one until Hatching Time sent me out the CT60, and then I really had no need for it. So
Well, I flip them. So I pick them up when people sell them, and I clean them up, and they'll have a bunch of extra trays with them or something, and I'll keep the trays that I need and then sell the incubator back off.
right. Carrie said, this is much better. Fan is definitely louder. Thanks, Carrie. Good to know that. Arturo says, question, how many days can I store eggs before putting them in the incubator?
I wouldn't do any more than 10. I would try to keep it about 7, but no more than 10.
Yeah, I don't even,
keep 'em
I never
pointy
store
side
for more than
down.
3.
Yeah, keep them pointy side down. Go ahead and put them in your tray that you're going to incubate them in, or in some kind of a tray. And every twice a day or something, say this is your tray, just tilt it. And then, on your way by the next time, just tilt it back this way. Like put a book or a pen or something underneath of it. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you want to keep that yolk kind of centered.
Okay, Don says, question, we need one that will hold 40 quail eggs. What's your recommendation?
Well, that really is going to be your price point is the question, not necessarily your quantity. So, I mean, you can buy a $200 360, and then you're going to buy all these inserts and additions and hygrometers and blah, 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 and you're going to be up to $300, and you could buy a small Bryncia for $300, you know? So the question is really your price point more so than your quantity. And I always look at things with an exit plan. So what is going to have the best resale value? So 360s, yeah, they sell all day long on Facebook Marketplace all the time, but a Bryncia will sell, a small hatching time will sell. The yellow ones that I use to hatch in, you know, I don't think you can give those away on Marketplace, but you know, I kind of like them. You know, maybe try the Matty Kupix, give it a shot. But I mean, you get what you pay for.
Yep. I really wish you would have done the Barato. Got one of the Baratos to do with it.
I couldn't find one. I tried. Couldn't find anybody with one.
I have two. You should have said something. I would have sent you one. Hidden Pine says, we appreciate it. He was in shock until after you were done talking and then said, I won. That's Parker's parents. That was so cool. Double R Farms says, I can confirm that the inserts Terry's talking about are great. I agree. And they're pretty cheap. I'm not sure. He gives them to me. I don't know what he's charging. I think he's charging like $8 for them or something like that. He's got a little Etsy store that he sells them on, but you could probably, if you ordered a whole incubator full of them, you know, 10 or whatever your turners hold, you could probably get a deal on them.
I'm going to tell you what I need after putting all my eggs in hatcher baskets today. So I have the individual hatching time baskets, and I have the bigger hatching time baskets, and then I have the hatching time baskets that come with the incubator. So I have all three sizes. Now, what I would really like is somebody with a 3D printer to come up with some kind of a divider so I can continue using the big basket.
Right.
I'd pay for those.
I use bags if I have to. Actually, with that HT 350, there's 10 baskets, so I can just separate the eggs in different baskets if I need to. But I know what you mean. It's nice to have some type of divider. JJ says, question, so what happened? I think we lost Jennifer for a minute. So Jennifer, or JJ says, so curled toes are from temp, that is too low. We lost you there for a second.
I'm just over here just chattering away, and nobody was there to listen to me. So I don't know what you heard.
We didn't hear a thing. I saw you look at your computer, and then you didn't say anything. You went black. JJ
okay.
says,
So
curled toes are from temperature that is too low and taking too long to incubate? Question?
I think so. I mean, that might be more of a Rebecca question, but I mean, that's what I observed in those incubators that didn't come up to good temperature and stay consistent.
Yep. Yeah, I usually don't let my incubation go past day 18, but I have had it go past it before, and it seems like all the late hatchers always have clenched fists. A lot of times, I'll just throw them in the brooder, and if they open up their feet, I'll keep them. If not, I just cull them out. But I think it's just too much time in the egg. They got cramped up toes,
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Maury says, I use Inkbird. Oh, he uses the Inkbird as a thermometer. There you go. Therm Pros are good. Yep, I agree. Mary said, if I was rich instead of so beautiful, I would buy the HT 360, but I'm not rich and really not that beautiful either. Oh, but you got a good sense of humor, Mary. The Birdhouse says, question, what kind of filament is needed for 3D printing incubator inserts? Does it have to be PETG or PLO safe with high heat and humidity? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know anything about 3D printing, so.
I can't even stay on the computer with you. I'm like not tech savvy at all. So.
Samantha says, I don't mind my farm innovators. There's cold spots, but I move the eggs around every so often so everything gets its fair chance.
And that was the point of me doing it, is so people would know what to expect with these different incubators. Yeah.
Yep. You know, and I consider the Baratos to be a pretty decent incubator. And in their manual, it recommends rotating the eggs from the outside to the inside. I've never done it, and I still get good hatches, but I don't know, maybe they're just covering their bases. Mm-hmm. Lindsay says, question, do you calibrate your ThermPros? They do not come with a calibration. It's factory set. And they've all been pretty accurate as far as I'm concerned. Lindsay says, Rebecca, you saboteur. Send the egg fryer for the experiment. Juan wants to know where Jennifer's from.
Well, I'm in Middle Tennessee.
I don't know why I was thinking you were from Kentucky. Del Chuchu says, I tried doing dry hatch with the Coturnix. I've seen them on Amazon. I don't know if they're any good or not. I've seen them. Yeah, and he says it was an utter failure. Leaving out of farms, this question, do you normally dry hatch, lock down with your own hatches outside of the experiment? Nope.
No.
Fat Country says, Terry, what's your hatch rate on the DIY incubator? I've had hatch rates as low as 50%. I've had hatch rates as high as 100%, just depending on the source of the eggs. And, yeah, that's usually the only thing that affects it. If I'm using my eggs, I usually get pretty decent hatches. But I use that now more of a, well, not anymore now that Hatching Time sent me that big box, but I use it more as a hatcher instead of an incubator. Wanda says, question, did you have water in the hatching time? I thought you said you brought the hatching time humidity down. Maybe I heard you wrong.
Well, I did have, I mean, you have to have water in it, otherwise it freaks out. But I did bring it down to 40. I mean, I had it hold at 40.
Really? I don't even use the humidifier on the hatching time incubator. I unplug it, and then if you go into settings and turn the humidity all the way down, not all the way down, but like whatever your average humidity is, like say 40-45%, keeps the alarm from going off.
You want me to tell you how to make it freak out? Wash the hatching baskets and don't let them dry, because you know you don't wash stuff till you need it, right? So you wash them, they're still wet, you put the eggs in them, put them in there, and the humidity shoots up to like 84%, and they start screaming at you. So I did that today.
Okay, Brandon says, hey, I got here kind of late. What was the recommendation for small scale incubator?
The best you can afford.
What would you buy if you had, I mean, small scale, let's say under $300.
Well, I didn't look up how much these ones cost. So I don't know, can you get a Brincia for that cheap? I know this is a bigger Brincia. Okay.
Yeah, you can get, I think their 24s are like $250.
Okay, well then I would go with that.
Yeah, Brincia's good, Barato's good. I'd plug this one behind me, but I'm waiting to finish some more testing with it.
Yeah.
John says, question, how long do your feeders last before refill? I want to get away from having to feed my quail every day. What do you recommend for possible automation?
Now I use the hatching time cages. That's all I really use. The breeders, I can usually go definitely 2 days, sometimes 3 days. Kind of depends if they're hot, if they're cold, if they're old, if they're young. You know, it kind of varies by cage. So.
And those trays hold quite a bit. What, like 5 pounds a feed or something, or more actually?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think how big my scoop is. I think my scoop is 5 pounds, and one of them will fill it up, or just about fill it.
My scoop is 3 quarts, and I know it doesn't fill it up, but I'm running close to 150 pounds of quail food every 2 days right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford that. Right? JJ says, in the Midwest, humidity is about 35% from spring to fall indoors, so I don't add water right up before lockdown. Yeah, that's what I do. I mean...
So on the 1502s, when I used to try to control the humidity in the 1502s, in the summertime, you fill those, there are trays up in the top. If you fill them up with water, which you have to, you don't have a choice, and set them up there, it raises the humidity too much because our ambient humidity here is already high. So what I did, redneck style, is I put it in a plastic grocery bag. So, because the idea is the fan is blowing across it, and so you're trying to reduce the surface area of the water. So I put it in a plastic grocery bag, and so the fan couldn't blow over the whole thing, and it would keep the humidity from rising too quickly. But in the winter time, I had to put sponges in it to keep it up high enough.
What incubator was that?
The 1502.
Do they have a big tray that goes in the bottom?
In the top. Right in
Oh, it
front
goes
of
in
the
the
fan.
top. Oh, I got you. Okay. You couldn't maybe find a smaller tray to fit up there? Or
Well,
wouldn't it fit?
maybe. But I see some people put on there, they cover them in saran wrap and different things, but I don't have saran wrap out in the barn, but I did have a plastic grocery bag, so I just
And it works.
yeah.
Jessica wants to know what humidity levels do you use for incubating versus lockdown?
40 and 60.
About the same here. Adolph says great information on this evening. Thanks. Absolutely. Oh, here's a plug for Rebecca. My little babies are from Thieving Otter Farm. I don't have any previous experience, but they are so well-mannered and fun. Here we go. Maury talking to Fat Court Country says, I just got an 80% hatch from Terry's incubator and eggs from Jennifer. So there you go, Jennifer. You were asking me how his hatch went. So
There you go. Awesome.
80% too. It's not bad. Kurt says, I built Terry's cabinet incubator. I'm getting good results with my own eggs. Fun projects, fun results. I have yet to keep any chicks because they are selling with a simple Craigslist ad. Cool. Fat Country says, question, did any of the units have dual supply options? Oh, dual power supply options. I'm sorry. Like a 12 volt?
I didn't notice, no.
Right.
But that does lead me to remember something else I wanted to say. On all of my incubators, not necessarily on the experiment ones, but the ones that I keep for every day, I have battery pack up surge protectors. Because the power is going to go out. It's not a if, it's a when. And it will give you enough time to make a plan, to see if the power's going to stay out long enough. You got to make a plan, or if it's just a 15-minute thing. I live out in the middle of nowhere, so it could go out for hours out here. So I do have a generator, but I do keep everything on a battery backup surge protector.
Okay, Adolph says, question, what's the absolute lowest humidity for hatching during lockdown?
And you want chicks to come out of the eggs? 50, maybe? I don't know that I would go much lower than that.
Right. Mary says, I wish she had been able to test one Terry just got to try out, the Van Popubs. Yeah, we were just talking about that, Mary, before we went live. It would have been nice if I could have sent her one of those. So that would have been two that I would have had to send you, the Barato and the Van Popubs. Let's see. Lindsay said, that's okay. Round 2, we need Van Popubs, Coturnix, and the Terry custom build. Let's go, Jennifer. And a Barato. Everybody's going to put you to work, Jennifer.
Well, y'all set up what experiment you want me to run next summer, but not during shipping season.
Right. I'm not even going to put that one up there. We need Terry comfortable for his videos. I don't know what that is, but okay. I am comfortable with my videos. Cayman says, I'm diving down the rabbit hole or the quail hole, and Terry, your videos have been an absolute goldmine of info regarding entry-level incubators. Do you still recommend the Baratos? I do. Baratos, I've had really good luck with both the Lumia 16 and the Real 49. So, matter of fact, Lumia 16 is right behind me, loaded with eggs. Cayman says, is the vertical egg position as opposed to laying down most incubators have really essential?
You know, I didn't even think about that as far as the experiment is concerned. That's a good question.
Yep.
Looking through all of these, the only ones that held them upright were the 1502 and the hatching time.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the best hatch rates. The Brincia kind of held them upright, but like I said, I had trouble with the quail rails, so I'd say they were kind of upright. They were kind of squished in there a little bit. But the other ones, the ones with the poor hatch rates, they all lay down. So I would say it would make a difference.
Well, with the two incubators behind me, the Barato and the Van Popubs lays down. They turn kind of like the Nurture Right 360, and then the Barato is vertical. They sit in their regular coil rails. I've got excellent hatch rates both ways. I mean, both incubators do really good. So, I mean, if you think about it, a mother hen's the eggs aren't standing up when a hen's sitting on them. So, I don't know.
That might have a lot more to do with how bumpy the ride is as they're rolling them versus tilting them.
Right. I don't know who he's talking about. Why don't you make it out of our plastic canvas? I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Mary. Maybe the dividers?
Oh, the ones where you couldn't hear me anymore? Yeah. So what I was talking about was in the big hatching time baskets, having some kind of dividers that kind of sit down in there.
Yep.
Today I cut them with pool noodles. Hopefully they stay there long enough that the chicks don't jump over them.
She says make them out of the plastic canvas and then tie them in where you want them with tiny tie wire. Like zip ties or something.
That sounds like a lot of work.
How many do you have to do? And is it something you'd want to take out all the time, or?
Well, you got to put it into perspective. I mean, I can hatch anywhere between 400 and 800 chicks a week.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so, I'm not doing that with tiny wires. The only reason I divided them today is because I was doing some test hatching.
Right. Bob says in the southwest Arizona / New Mexico, humidity is crazy low. Right now, 8%. As I have discussed with Terry, my elevation of 7,800 feet may be an issue too with low hatch rates. Yeah, what do you know about elevation and hatch rates?
I don't know anything, actually. I mean, I wouldn't even want to hazard a guess on that one.
I'm trying to find somebody else that lives up in the, higher elevations to see what they're doing.
Does Michael live low or high?
I think he's just outside of Phoenix. That's
That
kind
would
of
be
low. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I'm only like at 700 or 800 feet, so I'm not very high.
Yeah, I'm at 2.
2.
we don't. I mean, Florida's so flat. If you get a wave, it just washes over the state. Let's see. Andy Rabbit says, question, did you try a Google Lens search on any of the incubators that didn't have names so you could look up instructions online that way?
Believe it or not, the styrofoam one, the guy that let me borrow that one, sent me the instruction manual. So I had that one. The 360, the one I borrowed had an instruction manual. The Made in China one, he had, Rebecca didn't have hers, but my other friend that had the same one, he still had his. The Matty Kupix, no, I didn't look that one up. I did Google it, trying to find customer service, but not necessarily the book.
Right. Rebecca says, question, I love your experiments. What's next?
I have no idea. I need to sell a bunch of eggs right at the moment.
We'll come up with
Shameless
something
plug,
for you.
I still have a sale ends tonight, so y'all go to my website.
Okay.
These experiments are during the summer, when it's slower, so.
Right. Lindsay says, I'm sure Jennifer's babes are great too because she's so knowledgeable and lovely. Plugs for everyone.
Well, thank you.
Spartan says, question, I just saw a review of the Van Popub's incubator on another YouTube channel and they had terrible results. Interesting. I'm on my third hatch with them, and so far, I mean, it's been up over 90% every time. But again, that's with my eggs. Don says, question, are you familiar with the Life Basis automatic egg incubator sold on Amazon? Nope.
Never
I've
heard
never
of
heard of it. Me neither. Underhill says, question, are they supposed to be upright or turns? Seems conflicting.
So when an egg is sitting in the incubator and they're upright, the incubator will actually tilt them. When they're laying down, usually the incubators roll them.
Rolling. Yep.
So it's a different methodology.
JJ Willow says, I didn't even know Jennifer sold eggs.
Well, where have you been living?
Bryant's Roost.
There you go.
Diane Tuttle says, I have 100 Bob White in with dry hatch and candle 85 fertile on day 12 and 15. No activity in my Matapooks, whatever that means.
I call it the Matacupix. I don't know exactly how you say it. I've never hatched Bob Whites either, so.
Right, me neither. I hatched them out a couple times for a breeder or a dog breeder up north for training. They weren't no big deal. I mean, I hatched them out just like I do my Coturnix, and they hatched just fine. Fig Tree Farm says, I like the idea of using a ring around the Nurturite 360. Help keep hatched chicks in the incubator. I use several of these incubators with great results. I simply unplug it and put it in the brooder for the chicks to run out. Okay. Thieving Otter Farm says, egg sitting upright in an incubator is helpful with shipped eggs. Helps with displaced air cells. Good point. Underhill says, question, does temperature play into sex like reptiles? No. I know it might be silly to ask, but no. I mean, I see that question all the time from people on the Facebook group pages. No, it doesn't play any role in it.
If we could figure it out, I promise you we would. I had some hatches back in the spring. Probably three and a half hatches, 4 hatches. 100% hens.
Really?
And it was the weirdest thing. I actually had somebody in Oregon I had shipped eggs to, and she messaged me and she goes, your birds are great, but I really needed some roosters. And I was like, look, I did not plan that. So,
right?
And I've never been able to replicate it again. But yeah, it was like 3 or 4 hatches straight in a row. It was crazy.
I tell my eggs when I'm putting them in the incubator, all the roosters are going to be butchered. And then they hatch out as hens.
Mm-hmm.
They don't listen.
Power of persuasion.
Yep. Let's see. How subjectable to the environment of the room are some of the smaller incubators? That's a good question.
I would say very. And I don't necessarily think that you need to keep it warmer. It needs to be consistent. So the incubator can be consistent also. So I actually had a cheapo window air unit that just couldn't keep up. So right before I started the experiment, I got a new window air unit out there. It's kind of cool. It saddles over the windowsill so I can still see out the window. But it holds the room very consistent. So I think consistency is more of the trick versus be it hot or cold necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think I saw one more down here. Dawn says, I've ordered from Jennifer a few times and love her birds. Really good hatch rates, great sized birds and eggs. It's nice to know.
Dawn.
Lofty Dreams says, I had a little giant styrofoam as my first and had a horrible experience with it. 1 out of 80 pipped from my chickens. No hatches in a 65-degree Fahrenheit room. Struggled with humidity in general with most of mine, though. Yep, that will do it. Underhill says, my cheap little incubator says, keep the foam that comes with it to insulate it, and it works. Same with that new one I just tested out.
Same with those yellow tabletops that I like.
The Birdhouse says, question, Jennifer, do you have any other color hatching eggs like pansy or sparkly, or just Pharaoh?
I only do the Pharaoh, and I have Egyptians now. That's all I have on my website available. I do have some Celadons started, but they're only available in the hen's choice until I get up enough of a flock going.
Right. Okay, Fig Tree Farm says, speaking of quail sex, does the sex of the chick come from the roux or the hen?
My understanding is it's maternal.
I don't know, so don't even ask me.
I think in birds the female chooses it.
Is it? Brand new to quail, first hatch, 60 eggs in the incubator, only 7 have hatched, and today is day 19. The first hatched on day 17. How long can I keep them in the incubator, and when should I give up on the other eggs?
I would give up tomorrow, honestly, because anything that hatches probably after today is going to be so weak anyway, it won't survive. Now, all of y'all, before y'all get mad and want to save all the chicks, I run a survival of the fittest type farm here. So, I don't do little paper foot pads and bungee cords on legs and all of that kind of stuff. You sink or swim.
Right.
So, day 19, or if I have a cold like I have the last couple of weeks. We were supposed to do the show like 2 weeks ago, and then we had a cold, and then we had a hurricane, and finally we get to do it. But sometimes they got to stay in there till day 20, if I'm not feeling good or something. But no, you don't want those birds.
Okay, that brings us down to the bottom of the list, and it's almost 8:20, so we better pull the plug on that one. Guys, thanks for all the great questions. Really appreciate it. I want to thank everybody that joined us tonight. I got to select somebody for a Hatching Time gift certificate, and I think Underhill is going to get it. So Underhill, if you could send me your name, shipping information to Terry at coturnixcorner.com, I'll see that Hatching Time gets that, and what they do is they email you the gift certificate. So that's pretty much it out of me for tonight. I want to say thanks again to Fletcher. Parker Fletcher. I was thinking of somebody else when I said Fletcher. Parker, thanks for your write-up. Really appreciate it, and I'm glad that you were able to get in there and be selected by our judges. We actually have judges now over there that select the winners, so I don't have to do it, which works out very well. And Jennifer, thank you very much for joining us. Don't hang up until we're done. I want to talk to you a minute. Okay. So, guys, thanks a lot. We will see you next week, Tuesday. I don't know what we got planned yet. As soon as I do, I will post it over on the Facebook group page. Don't forget to join us Sunday for morning musings. And have a great rest of your week. Have a good night, guys.